Welcome to another episode of the Simply Retirement Podcast, where we want to empower and educate women to live your retirement on your terms. I'm your host, Eric Blake, practicing retirement planner with over 25 years of experience and founder of Blake Wealth Management. And I would not be the man I am today without the women in my life. One of those women is my amazing producer, Wendy McConnell. She's joining me again today. Wendy, how are you?
Oh, stop. Your flattery will get you everywhere. I'm good.
You're an important piece, believe me. That's no
Thank
doubt
you.
about that.
How are you?
I am good. So this is our first recording of the new year. So happy new year.
Happy New Year. Happy playoff season.
Well, yeah, whatever. Hopefully many of you know I'm in the Dallas area and have been a Cowboys fan since I couldn't even barely walk. And then now
Sorry.
more than half of my life, they haven't done crap.
Well, they were really big in the 90s, so you
They
had
were,
your
yeah.
time.
I get it. But yeah, 30 years is a long time. 30 years with nothing.
Yeah.
That's a long time to go. So
It is. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up, but
it's a sore spot, but we'll get past it. I definitely
Okay.
don't have the same emotional connection as I did once.
Yeah.
Actually, this is a story I told my kids and my family. After you remember the catch, right? So I had against San Francisco, the catch puts Dallas out. There was like the NFC Championship game. Dwight Clark catches the ball. I missed school that next Monday because I was so torn up about it. I was like 10 years old. But yeah, so it was, 83, I think? 82 or 83. So yeah, I'd have been like 10 or 11.
Oh, wow.
So that's how emotionally connected I was in the past.
Well, and speaking of kids, I went to a game. I'm an Eagles fan, and I went to a game once. It was still the Vet Stadium, so it was a long, long time ago. And there was a little kid, probably about 10 years old. It was the end of the game, and he's, oh man, I can't believe they were winning, and they lost at the last minute. And I just can't. His dad goes, son, if you're gonna be an Eagles fan, you're gonna have to get used to this. Truer words have ever been spoken.
So what I think is funny is now the cameraman, that's like one of their goals is to find a little kid that's crying in the stands so they can put him up.
And you can always find at least one, right?
They can always find at least one of them.
Okay. So were you going to talk about football? That's fine. Or are we going to talk about something else?
Well, I love football, but no, we got other more important topics to cover. So today we're doing a Q&A episode. And I'm going to answer one question came from our Ask Eric through the simplyretirementpodcast.com. And then I want to walk through a real life situation that was actually shared inside of our Simply Retirement Community Facebook group. And these are the kinds of questions that actually many women are trying to sort through, sometimes quietly because they're not really sure who to ask or where to go. And my goal today is to help just bring some clarity, some structure, and just a better way to think through some of these decisions that may be in front of you. I'm also going to be sharing a few different resources as we go through this episode to help you navigate these decisions. So again, please be sure to visit the simplyretirementpodcast.com. So first question comes from Anonymous. She wanted to be, as I always say, when you share these questions, feel free to share your name if you want to be mentioned on the podcast. But in this case, she wanted to be anonymous. But here's what she said. She said, my husband is retired and I can't seem to get any information regarding how much of his Social Security I am entitled to. I am retired as well. It's one of the most common Social Security questions I get because it's also one of the most misunderstood. So for the purposes of today's episode, I want to be clear that we're going to base this question, we're going to focus only on spousal benefits, meaning both spouses are married currently. And to be perfectly clear, both are still living, right? And we're going to try to understand what a wife may be entitled to based on her husband's work record. And I'll start with a common assumption that applies to many women, of course, whether it's because of caregiving in the past, whatever the reason might be, that her benefit on her own record is either very small or maybe even non-existent. But I'll explain what happens if she does have a smaller benefit of her own. And what I want to do is just go step by step. I'm going to take each of this, break it down into steps you can actually utilize in your own situation if it makes sense, or if you're trying to figure out some of this stuff. So step one is always going to be, let's just confirm basic eligibility. So to potentially receive a spousal benefit, you generally must be age 62 or older, have been married for at least 1 year, and the important one for married couples, your spouse must have filed for his retirement benefit.
Okay.
So the higher earning spouse must have filed before anybody else can file for a spousal benefit. So that's step one. Step two is we want to try to, if the best we can, if we don't really have a number for your husband's full retirement age benefit, we want to try to figure out how we can identify what that benefit at his full retirement age is. because a spousal benefit is going to be based on your husband's full retirement age benefit, or what is often called the primary insurance amount, or even referred to as PIA sometimes. And it is not automatically based on what he is receiving today, especially if he possibly claimed early or even delayed benefits. And we'll talk about that as well. Obviously, the easiest thing is to review his Social Security statement if he has one, right? So we don't necessarily have any indication as to whether he has or has not filed. So we got to kind of go with some assumptions, or how would we find this information? So option one is, if you got a Social Security statement, you can look at that full retirement age amount on the statement. Now, actually, the other option is call Social Security and ask directly, what is his primary insurance amount? Now, unfortunately, in most cases, it's going to have to be him that's going to have to make that call. They're not necessarily always going to share other spouses' information with the other spouse. So you can call and get that amount. Now, the other way to do it, and I would often encourage you to at least, talk to a financial advisor, somebody that can help you with these calculations. But if you need to, you can actually back into an estimate if you know what his current benefit amount is and the age at which he started benefits. Now, this is not going to always be the most exact, but you can kind of get in the ballpark at least, right? Now, even if the higher earning spouse delayed benefits beyond full retirement age, it is definitely important to understand that the spousal benefit does not increase along with that delay. So if we've got somebody who, let's say their full retirement age is 67, but they've decided to delay their benefit to 70, the spousal benefit does not increase based on that age 70 benefit. It locks in, the maximum is always going to be 50% of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age benefit. So that whatever that benefit would have been at age 67.
So this is assuming that they are taking the spousal benefits instead of their own.
In this case, because that's the question, the way she posed the question, my assumption is she's expecting that her benefit is going to be based on his record.
Okay.
So it doesn't indicate whether she has her own benefit or not. But for our purposes, that's what I'm assuming, is that either she has a very, very low benefit or no benefit at all. So she's expecting that she's going to be receiving something based off his record.
Okay.
So then we want to estimate what's the maximum spousal benefit that she could potentially be eligible for. So at most, a spousal benefit is going to equal 50% of the husband's full retirement age benefit. And that's assuming the wife claims at her own full retirement age. So again, just kind of keep things simple. Let's say both the spouses, they're both born after 1960, their full retirement age is both 67. Her maximum benefit is going to be 50% of his age 67 benefit, but that's only if she herself waits until age 67. Okay. So that's step three. Step four is we want to adjust for the wife's claiming age, right? So claiming before full retirement age is going to result in a reduced spousal benefit. So again, the maximum is 50%. If you file before your age 67, if that's your full retirement age, it's going to be reduced by some percentage. The earlier you file, the higher the percentage reduction is going to be. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Perfect. Again, that's where a lot of people get tripped up, because the reductions vary by the type of benefit that you're applying for and by the age. And one of the resources I'm going to share as part of this episode is something I call our ultimate guide to women's Social Security success. And inside that guide, there's a 2026, it's updated for this year, quick reference guide that will actually show you these different percentage reductions for different Social Security benefits and based on the age that you start. So you can actually use this to look at what the different reduction percentages might be to help you as you're making some of these decisions on the timing of when to apply for certain benefits.
Okay. Got it.
Right. Now, step five, back to the question around her own work record. So actually, we want to look at if she has her own benefit, if she's eligible, if she has a work history and she's eligible for some retirement benefit on her own, meaning she's worked at least 10 years, then what actually happens is when she applies, Social Security actually considers it to be that they're paying whatever that benefit amount is. So we'll just use the math. Let's say his benefit, full retirement age benefit is 3,000. And she's eligible for as much as 1,500, 50% of that. But let's say she does have a small benefit on her own. So let's say it's $500. So when she applies, she's actually going to receive her own $500 benefit and then what's called the additional $1,000 spousal top off.
Okay.
So it's still $1,500, but Social Security considers that they're paying her amount and then just topping off based on the higher earning spouse's record.
Okay.
Last thing, step six, obviously you want to confirm everything with the Social Security Administration. They're going to be the final authority on any of this. because they're going to want to be the one that determines the exact benefit amount when you actually file and when you actually begin receiving those benefits based on your age, based on your work record, and based on whatever rules happen to be in effect at that time.
This is only in the instance of freezing the amount that a spouse can get when you are from the start taking from the spouse's benefit. In the case that there's a married couple and the woman is taking her own benefit, then his would continue to increase that she would have access to after he's gone.
Now, would you say he's gone, meaning a survivor benefit?
Oh, I don't know.
I say, you said he's gone. Where did he go?
Well, I just meant that, if you're taking your own, you can't take his while he's alive, correct?
So the way it would work, and this actually drawn a complete blank on which episode we talked about this, but there are certain strategies for married couples where, let's say from a cash flow perspective, maybe he's going to have the higher benefit. He's going to continue working or for whatever reason has chosen to delay his benefit, but the wife has a benefit based on her own record. She could actually start her own, receive her own benefits for some period of time. And then once he files, if she's eligible for a top off, she can actually start receiving that when he files.
Oh,
So she might get her $500. And then when he files, get that extra 1,000 to get her up to the 1,500. Now, again, all this is age dependent. So just for an example, let's say she is eligible for a $500 benefit on her own record, and that's her full retirement age benefit. If she starts early, that $500 is going to get reduced. So you got to, again, keep all these different things in mind that anytime you file before full retirement age, your benefit's going to get reduced. Now, that also does carry over to when she does get that spousal benefit, when it kicks in, when he files, the maximum would have been $1,500. But if she filed at 62, 63, 64, whatever it is, that $1,500 is going to be something less than that.
yeah. But what I'm thinking about is you had said that the spousal benefit stops at the amount of this retirement age of 67. If he continues to hold off until 70, she still is only entitled to what it would have been at 67.
Yes. The maximum spousal benefit is 50%. Again, we'll use 67 just so we can keep on the same page with that. So the maximum benefit she can receive is 50% of his age 67 benefit, regardless of whether he decides to continue delaying his own benefit or not. Now, she can't actually file. That's the trick. With a married couple, she can't actually file for spousal benefits until he is filed, right? Now, the other thing, what's interesting though, is you got to keep this in mind too. Let's say he did, for whatever reason, he decides to file early. He decides to file at 63. She still has the potential receiving 50% of his full retirement age benefit, that age 67 amount.
Okay.
So that's something important to keep in mind as well. So for whatever reason he decides he needs, again, it's all about cash flow and evaluating your own personal circumstances, saying, okay, from a cash flow perspective, for whatever reason you decide you need to start early, the higher earning spouse starts at 62, 63, something before age 67. Her maximum spousal benefit is still going to be based on whatever that age 67 amount would have been, up to 50% of that amount.
If she waits till she's 67.
Full
Gotcha.
retirement age of 67. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Gotcha.
Yeah. And again, this is all around spousal, being currently married. That's really the key piece to this. And again, based on her question, there's some other factors that would come into play on divorce situations. Again, we're going to stay away from that at this point. But again, in this case, just know it's going to be up to 50% of the higher earning spouse's full retirement age benefit. Hey everyone, it's Eric. Hope you're enjoying today's episode. I want to take just a quick moment to share a resource I think you'll find valuable. Have you ever found yourself asking, how much can I put into an IRA this year? Or how much can I earn before my Social Security gets reduced? Those are the kinds of questions that come up all the time, and the answers change often more than you think. That's why we created a free 2-page tax and retirement planning cheat sheet, updated for 2026, with the key tax, Social Security, and retirement numbers all in one place. You can download it right now at the simplyretirementpodcast.com/retirement cheat sheet. It's a simple reference you can keep handy whenever questions come up. Now, back to the episode. So back to our original question. That's really what she would want to do is first find out what his full retirement age benefit, either by finding a statement, calling Social Security Administration, or you can back into it if that's your only other option. Okay. All right. So now let's get to the next question or situation that was shared in the Facebook group. And this is where it's an interesting situation. A question comes from the Facebook group and was shared actually by the stepdaughter who recently lost her father, and she has stepped in to help his wife manage the finances after his passing. So I really want to just acknowledge that role. It's oftentimes the oldest child that will step in to have to help a parent. In this case, actually a step parent. So I just think it's a big responsibility, and I think she at least needs to be say, hey, just a shout out to her for being willing to step in there and help out. And some of the things that she shared around things she's helping with, trying to create a budget and some things that she's helping her with. I just want to say that that's not always the case. So
Yeah.
but just a quick snapshot of the situation that we're dealing with here is that the woman is 63 years old, widowed just about a month ago. By the time when I actually got this, when it was actually posted, it's probably closer to 2 months now, but somewhere in that 1 to 2 month area. She has some savings. You got a small IRA account. They started selling a few things to build up a cash reserve, which again, potentially a good decision there. She's going to be receiving a small VA benefit, veterans benefit, has some VA medical benefits as well. She's been on unemployment for about a year. Again, they're working on creating a budget. The big question she has is, does she need to go back to work? And if so, could it be part time? So, tricky part is with this when we're talking about the Social Security options and some of the decisions that need to be made is we don't necessarily know exactly what the income or what the Social Security benefits are. But just based on what was shared, it sounds like she's not currently she hasn't started her benefits yet, any Social Security benefits on her own yet. She does qualify for a benefit on her own record, but it appears that her benefit is lower than what her deceased husband's was. And there's also an age difference. So she's a few years younger than her late husband was. So actually, as you can probably imagine, this combination can often create some cash flow pressures of well, where's my income? If he was receiving Social Security and that's no longer there, what do I do in terms of cash flow? And again, as she's indicated, they started selling a few things and just looking for some options that can help her get through this initial time period. But this is really where some of these difficult questions start to show up is number one, can I really stay retired? Will I need to work for a few years? And also a big component of this is going to be if she is eligible for a benefit on her own record, should I start one benefit now and switch to another benefit later on? Which you have the option of doing in the case of survivor benefits.
Okay.
So we'll walk through a little bit of what that sequencing potentially could be, because in many, and obviously widowhood situations, the strategy is going to center around, in most cases, this is kind of rule of thumb, is you would start the smaller benefit earlier and delay the larger benefit as long as reasonably possible. Again, based on cash flow needs and things of that nature.
Even though we just talked about how is it different because it's survivor benefits?
Absolutely.
All right. Gotcha. Now I'm up to
There you go. We're making progress here, right? And again, that's why always it's so because that term spousal can throw so many people off because you don't necessarily know when you just say the word spousal, you don't necessarily and not it's not intuitive necessarily as to are we talking is the husband still alive? Is the husband no longer alive?
Gotcha.
When you say that spousal term, that's why it's so important to distinguish between spousal benefits and survivor benefits.
When the spouse passes away, if you had waited till 70 or she, whoever was making more money, they'll get half of the amount that he got as he waited till 70?
Nope. So that's where survivor benefits are different. So that's where we start looking at her circumstances is she will be eligible for 100% of what he was receiving at the time that he passed, 100%,
Okay.
less any reductions based on age. And that's going to be one of the critical factors she's going to have to be aware of is if she's 63, she has not reached full retirement age. For full retirement age at 63, meaning she's born in 1963-ish, her full retirement age is 67. So she's eligible for up to 100% of what he was receiving when he passed. But because she's only 63, it would be reduced if she started it now.
Okay. But she would get the full amount if she waits till 67.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then that's the question. Where's my cash flow going to come from if that's the case? Do I have enough other sources of income or will I have to go back to work? And that's her big question. Do I have to go back to work?
Okay.
Do I have to go work full time, part time? Exactly. What are my options here?
So what are her options, Eric?
So that's where we start looking at number one, if she's eligible for her own benefit. And that's back to the point of which benefit is greater? Is their survivor benefit greater or is their own benefit greater? And that's where we say, okay, if we go into with the idea that we might consider starting one now and switching to the other later,
Gotcha.
we want to be aware of a couple of key distinctions that many people don't realize. And that is number one, survivor benefits can only be delayed until full retirement age. So they don't increase to 70 like your own benefit would. Your own benefit can actually be delayed all the way to age 70 and it continues to increase. But that's not the case with survivor benefit. So her maximum benefit is going to be based on her reaching that age 67 as far as the survivor benefit goes.
But what if he is 70 and just started taking his? He passes at 71. Does she get 100% of that? Or again, I'm very confused about the
Up to 100% of what he was receiving the day he passed. So if he passed at 71 and he was receiving $3,000 a month, she's eligible for up to 100% of that number, however, reduced based on when she actually files for that benefit.
but the question I'm really asking is, he waited until 70 to get the higher amount.
Yes.
Okay. So he passes at 71. Is she entitled to his survivor benefits at 100% of the amount he got when he was 70?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
However,
Oh,
just so we're not confusing the audience here, because she's only 63, let's say she files for that survivor benefit tomorrow, that $3,000 is going to be reduced from the 3,000 because she's filing early.
okay. I was just trying to differentiate between the spousal benefit that stops at
Yes.
67 and the survivor benefit that can be.
So as we were talking about with the survivor benefit, your own survivor benefit, it can't be delayed past full retirement age, while your own benefit can be delayed all the way until age 70, just as you were talking about. And again, that difference is critical. So again, if you're thinking about saying, okay, if she can apply for one today and delay the other, which of those do you delay and which one do you file for today? And you want to typically, rule of thumb, delay the larger of the two benefits, right? So in her situation, she say, okay, well, if I file for my own benefit and we don't have these amounts, so that makes it a little bit tricky, but some other considerations saying, okay, well, what if she files for her own benefit now? Let's say the survivor benefit is the larger of the two. She could potentially file for her own benefit today at age 63. She'll start receiving that again, reduced from whatever her full retirement age amount would be. But that does allow her to have that survivor benefit continue to increase to age 67, where she would get that full 3,000. That make sense?
Yes.
Now, here's where the next trick comes in. If she files for any benefit at all at age 63, now she's going to be subject to the earnings test if she has to go to work. Right? So that's really where her decision is going to be, is we have to look at her cash flow situation and say, well, how much do I need to live on? Is one of the other Social Security benefits going to be enough? Or am I going to have to work or draw income from some other source? Right? So if that Social Security benefit is not going to provide her with enough to live on today, then the likelihood is, yes, she's probably going to have to go back to work or make some other big financial decisions. Does she sell as much as she can? Does she sell whatever house she's in currently? She had to make some other big decisions if she chooses not to go back to work. But if she chooses to go back to work and she's under full retirement age, now we have to worry about the earnings test, which simply means that, yes, you could work and receive Social Security benefits at the same time. But if you earn more than about 24,000 a year in 2026, now you start worrying about my benefit could get reduced because I'm making too much money in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really when we start to really evaluate the cash flow situation and say, well, I've got Social Security as an option, work is an option, selling assets is an option. I've got some IRA money, then maybe that's an option. So some combination of all that, does it give her enough to do the things that she needs to do and the things that she wants to do? And which of those, then which decisions do I have to make going forward around, if I'm going to work, does it make sense? I'd be in a better situation if I just delayed filing for any Social Security benefits and just worked full time for some period of time.
And that's okay as long as you don't file.
Right. Or again, if the amount you could receive from Social Security plus amount of something up to 24,000, if that works for you, then again, that may be the right decision. But that's where it's really individualized. And that's where for her, that's where we have to do the fact that she's going through that budgeting process is going to be really huge as she starts figuring out exactly what her cash flow needs are. That will then help her make these decisions and prioritize some of these decisions that she's going to have to make.
Okay.
right? And I think the biggest thing that just kind of putting it all together as we've gone through all these different potential scenarios, it's not necessarily about finding the perfect answer. It's about finding the right order of decisions. So she's taking some good steps now and that she started to try to get an idea of what her budget is. So she's looking for stability first. Then we want some little, try to get a little more clarity second. And then ultimately, yes, we want to try to optimize everything, but don't feel like you've got to optimize it tomorrow. She's still, I mean, we're talking still 2 months since her husband has passed away. And so it's more just kind of prioritizing which decisions need to be made now versus what are the things that could be decided on later or adjusted. But that's the tricky part with Social Security is you often don't get that do-over, right? So that's where you really want to evaluate as you're making that decision on Social Security, make sure you've got at least a pretty good handle on what your cash flow needs are so that you can make the decisions that are the most effective for you today.
No rash decisions.
That's right. Again, you don't have to solve everything at once. You take priorities. And as we start thinking about these takeaways from this episode, first thing is we talk about spousal benefits. They're going to be based on the higher earning spouse's full retirement age, regardless of when that spouse actually filed. But for married couples, again, it's important to know that the higher earning spouse must have filed for their benefits in order for a spousal benefit to be payable. Second thing is when there is an age difference between spouses, especially when surviving spouse is the younger and has a lower benefit, we have to evaluate those cash flow challenges and that often will show up around some of these Social Security decisions. We also understand that survivor benefits and retirement benefits grow differently, which is again why starting one benefit and switching to another definitely may be worth evaluating, but you want to understand the circumstances around both of those. And then again, the sequencing of decisions matters more than the speed. Coordinating your Social Security, coordinating work income, cash flow will help you preserve flexibility and avoid rushed permanent choices.
All right.
So as we start thinking about how we wrapping up this episode, I want to point a couple of resources that were shared. Shared one earlier in the episode, that ultimate guide to women's Social Security success with that quick reference guide that can help you make some decisions. Along with that guide is also going to be a few different checklists and guides that will walk you through different eligibility, whether we're talking spousal benefits, whether we're talking survivor benefits, just so you can get an idea of what your options may be. And then the second resource I wanted to share, this is more related to the second scenario we went through, and that is our 3-part podcast series, Navigating Life After Loss, which actually walks you through the emotional, financial, and practical decisions that many women will face after losing a spouse. And it just can help you prioritize some of these decisions that what has to be made, just what decisions need to be made now versus what things you could postpone or delay and make those decisions later down the road. And of course, if you'd like help creating a personalized retirement plan around income, work decisions, Social Security timing, you can visit getmysimplyretirementroadmap.com to schedule a call with our team. So that is it for today's episode. Again, just as a reminder for all the links and resources that we have mentioned, you can visit the simplyretirementpodcast.com. Please, of course, follow and share the show. And if you have a question, topic idea, or you just want to share a cool retirement story for a future episode, you can actually head to askeric.me. Until next time, please remember, retirement is not the end of the road. It's the start of a new journey.
That's it for today's episode of the Simply Retirement Podcast. We hope you found our insights and advice helpful in planning for a fulfilling retirement. Don't forget to take action on what you've learned today. Visit our website at blakewealthmanagement.com to learn more about our firm and review our Simply Retirement Roadmap process to get you on the right path to the retirement you deserve. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and we look forward to helping you achieve your retirement goals. Remember, retirement is not the end of the road. It is the start of a new journey. So embrace it and make the most of it. Until next time, take care. Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security, or engage in any specific trading strategy. Results will vary. Past performance is no indication of future results or success. Market conditions change continuously. This commentary reflects the personal opinions, viewpoints, and analyses of Blake Wealth Management. It does not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, their clients, or their employees. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by Blake Wealth Management or RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, a registered investment advisor, Blake Wealth Management, and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place.